and gentlemen, welcome to the Pop Art Hunter channel, and today we're going to be discussing costuming. I'm not very knowledgeable about costuming, but I know when I see a show, a Broadway production, a Cirque Du Soleil show or something, when I look at something and I see it, I like it. And today we've got a cool, really artistic book. It's the Costumes of Cirque Du Soleil. It covers a span of 25 years of their productions, and I mean, it's a really pretty book. It's a really nice book, but it shows that really unique, only Cirque style of doing things. You can't describe Cirque often. Sometimes it's very hard to nail down like, oh, well, this is what they did with this effect, or this is how they did this acrobatic set. And the costumes are kind of the same. You can say, well, there's a stripy sort of outfit, but it doesn't really tell the person you're talking to exactly what it looked like. And so this is a really cool book, and I hope to show you some of the awesome costumes from Cirque du Soleil. Let's get started. Now, I'm a huge fan of hardcover books, but, if not given the option of a softcover, or if the hardcover is way too expensive, I will get a softcover. But this softcover, even though it is softcover, which I'm not prone to that, it feels premium. It's got a little bit of a heft to it, a little bit of a weight, but it's got a premium feel in the paper, this matte finish. The binding seems relatively sturdy. It seems like it's gonna hold the test of time. And even like the cover, I mean, the little extras here, you can see this like 25 here is actually like a cutout. And it kind of represents that 25-year anniversary with the sunbeam, so it's kind of an artistic expression of that. So again, it's a pretty premium book. This is covering, again, 25 years of costuming with Cirque du Soleil. Now, I won't go through each and every page. I like to leave a little bit of up to the imagination as far as not spoiling the book completely. I will say at the beginning here, though, that this does have multiple languages inside of it, which is Cirque. It's a company that spans international. It spans multiple continents and countries as far as showcasing their work. So, okay. So one of the things, as we look through here, I was going to show you this very crude look at some of the early masks from the 80s that they were using that were just. They were just very, very crude, very simple. I'm assuming like a paper mache or something. And even the costumes are fairly simple. And then, just a few years later, you get into the 90s, and all of a sudden this color explosion happens. All the frills and the baubles and the buttons that they have on these costumes and the color schemes are just incredible. And so you can see that in a very short time, they sort of started finding themselves in their own style. I know this book does get a little bit into, some of the background stuff, some of the factories and how they, assemble and build the costumes. But yeah, I mean, there's just such a vibrancy to Cirque du Soleil as far as their sets and the lighting and the sound, and then the costumes. So this is Mystère. I believe that's the first Las Vegas show that they had. I've seen Mystère only once. It was a good show. It wasn't my favorite Cirque show. I think they've come a long way since '93. And whether I'm snobby or I have a refined palate, I seem to like some of their newer stuff a little better. It's a good show. It just seems a little bit more circusy, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that it has more the acrobatics and those things and less of the story-driven stuff. These are from O. These are a really kind of a trippy psychedelic thing. I mean, I can spin this around. You can go into be hypnotized. But when you try to describe these to people, I'm like, yeah, they had these like striped costumes. It doesn't really have the sort of oomph. But when you actually see them, not only in person, but in a book like this too, you get it. You're like, okay, that's just an interesting approach to how they did that. So again, lots of colors. Even when they do the black and white, like those stripes, the black and white really comes out in a unique way because of the patterns they use and sort of that optical illusion. Even this one at the bottom here, it's more simple in design and color, but it looks like a chalk pastel was painted onto the person. So they have a rhyme and a reason for everything that they do. This is a Varikai, I believe Varikai. Here's some more animal type suits. This is almost like a dragon or a lizard or a serpent or something. They do this in quite a few of their shows. This almost looks like a potato monster. They have a couple different bugs and creatures. They usually have a clown sort of element in their shows. I know the show Ka, they have a couple like comic relief characters, but then they also have a turtle and a starfish and some other animal creatures that they try to put back. So this is Zumanity, which is Cirque du Soleil's, more sensual production. We got Ka. And then here you got some, individuals working on some of the dyes and the sewing and the pattern cutting and some of that stuff, which is kind of neat to see. Yeah, some just great costumes and such weird and unique stuff. This one with all the socks and the feet and the legs coming out. Like there's just a lot of unique ideas in here. And again, I'm skipping over quite a bit of this stuff. But you can see that, each show is a little bit different. Each one of them has a little bit different sort of a style and kind of purpose to it. And sometimes, like this particular costume, you can see it. You can see it here, and it looks like an ordinary costume. But then once it's in the show, it sort of like comes alive. Like the costume sort of has a life of its own. And I've mentioned this before, where I'm not a huge costume person. I don't necessarily pay attention, and I think that's because when a costume is done really well, you don't notice it. It doesn't take away from the show. It doesn't take away from the story or the music and all those different things. Cirque du Soleil breaks and bends that a lot because sometimes it's just a costume until it isn't just a costume. And they do a really good job of kind of incorporating that into the surprise and making the costumes their own characters of sorts. There's always a lot of colors. This is kind of cool. This trash can dude here. I'm sure there's probably a music element to this. A lot of times they'll even do some, percussion based things. I'm sure he might even be part of that. So really cool book. It's quite a few pages to it. This we're in 2008 now with Zed. Trying to see what shows we get to. Is Ovu. Oh, here's another animal example of the grasshopper here. And, here you can see the guy's face, but, from a distance in the auditorium, it looks all these animals, they look really neat. It does a really cool kind of illusion for you of what these animals look like. From a distance, you almost second guess for a second. You're like, wait a minute, that's a life-size grasshopper. And they have a little bit more information about the creators and some of these people. Cool. Yeah, I really think it's a neat book. I think if you like Cirque du Soleil, thumbs up. If you like costuming, thumbs up. If you like just art in general, thumbs up. This is a cool piece. Even if you don't care for Cirque du Soleil, but you like theater or Broadway and those things, this can even be a source of ideas. You don't want to copy them, but it can be a source of inspiration and to show what is possible. Because I'm sure there's a lot of things in here that they looked at a certain piece and they're like, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to accomplish this? And then all of a sudden they just make it happen. Like, yeah, let's add 30 legs to this woman's costume. And so they're able to make those things a reality just from sort of an artistic idea. This book has some really great costume pieces. Again, I'm not much of a costumer. I know I like it when I see it sort of thing. But a lot of times with Cirque du Soleil, especially some of the bigger productions, if you see O in Las Vegas as an example, there's so many people on stage at one time often that, it's just stimulus overload. It can be very visually distracting where you can't catch all the pieces or you see somebody pass by in a certain costume and you don't get to see the details, or you're sitting in the nosebleeds or the cheap seats and you don't really get a really good look at it. So this book is a really cool way to see some of those costumes and things individually, and especially in kind of that background setting, some of the photos they have of the making of sort of thing, I think are really cool as well, versus just that traditional souvenir program that shows you that final, the look and feel. It doesn't give you into the concept art and all those things. So really cool book. I think it's awesome. Glad to have it in my collection. Hopefully you like it. Maybe look for it. Maybe buy it for yourself if you enjoy it. If not, you can just watch this video over and over and over. It just helps me. So, it gives me view counts or something. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching the Pop Art Hunter channel, and we will see you next time.